Makeup is good, hair is good, boobs are not popping out. You know, I shot a whole video once where like I didn't realize like my bra was out, like half my boob was out, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so indecent. So I had to delete it and start from scratch because like it's not that good. This is not that kind of channel. This is like a family show. So yeah, use my hair to cover it a bit. Hi guys. Anyway, hi guys. Let me start this again because wow. Welcome back to the Pretty Bookish channel, where we talk all things books all the time. I'm really happy to be back. If this is your first time watching, welcome. If you are a regular here, what up? So today I'm going to be doing a really fun video. I'm going to be doing a massive book haul. I've literally bought so many books in the last, I want to say 6 weeks or so. COVID timetable is still wreaking havoc on South Africa's postal service, so things are still taking weeks. So I ordered some of the stuff like weeks ago and it only just arrived. So I'm going to do a massive book haul for you guys. I think there are about 20 books that I'm going to show you guys that I just got, that I'm really excited about, that I managed to get before the end of the year. Hopefully, I don't want to say this is definitely my last haul of 2020 because I actually don't want to be a liar. I'm trying to tell the truth more often and not be the kind of person who tells lies. And I feel like if I say that emphatically and I try to add like any kind of energy to that statement, I will burst into flames because it's probably a lie. So let's just say that this is probably the last big haul that I will do this year. And there'll probably be like a mini haul, because I actually think I still have something floating in the Pacific, but you know what, that's neither here nor there. Today what we're doing is I'm going to show you guys the books that I've just gotten that I'm really excited about. A lot of them I'm really excited about. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. Okay, so the first book, like I keep okay, the first book that I want to show you guys that I finally got is Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar. First of all, I have to start with the cover. I always start with the cover because it's usually the most important thing to me, but this one, oh, it's so beautiful. Like the gold. I know Illuminae has one that's like purple, but like this gold, oh, it's so pretty. This is like beautiful. Okay, so this is a fantasy book. Rough plot. I'll try and give you guys like rough plots. I can't go into detail because you know my predicament, but basically this is a fantasy series set in kind of the heavens, where the lead or the main character, her name is Shipal. She's like basically a star. Her mom was a star and went back to wherever stars are from, this kingdom that is basically like the stars in the sky. It's basically set where they are actual people or actual beings. So she basically discovers that she's a star, and then she has to go back to the stars, to the kingdom where the stars are, to do some, you know, kingdomy, to do some starry stuff, I guess. I don't know. But like, that's basically the basic plot, is that this is a fantasy book about stars and human as stars and stars as beings. Very, very amped to read this because I'm trying to also branch out in terms of my fantasy. I want to read more fantasy that centers not white, but also not necessarily African fantasy. So different kind of drawing on different cosmologies and different mythologies and different histories and different cultures and stuff like that. Like, you know how I love like The Rose of the Dagger and The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Adi, because it draws on that kind of Arabic, Middle Eastern, Arabian Nights kind of thing. This as well. It's just, I'm obsessed with this cover. It's so beautiful. Yeah, Star Daughter. It's oh, it's so pretty. I literally can't even talk. The next book that I finally also have is Illuminae by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. So Illuminae is one of those books that someone recommended it to me to read because I was looking to delve into sci-fi a little bit. Also, I saw it on a bookstagram, but someone was just like, if you're looking for sci-fi and you also don't bind like a weird format, this is a book to read. So I think I showed this in a previous video, but basically this is a book that's formatted in a way that it is told like it's a story. It's a science fiction story, but it's told using like redacted documents and like emails and like, so it's not a straight narrative. So you have all this like these documents and these like transcripts that basically tell the story. So I think it's going to be a really interesting way to kind of get the story, to see if having a different format and not a straight narrative is something that I can actually, that I don't get confused. You know, I don't like to be confused, that I'm not going to get confused and I'm actually going to enjoy it. So Illuminae, actually really glad to finally have this one as well, because a lot of people really like this book, but also a lot of people really hate it. I personally love books that are like really polarized, because then it's like when I'm reading it, I'm trying to like figure out what people love, what people hated. So yeah. The next book I actually picked up, ooh, that stack almost toppled over, Lord. And the next book I picked up at Bargain Books on Black Friday is We Are Lost and Found by Helene Dunbar. It's queer YA. It's queer YA about a group of friends as well. And one of the friends is queer and he's trying to navigate friendship and his sexuality and discovering himself. So I love queer YA in general. So I just saw this and I've never heard of it, and so I just picked it up. I literally just saw it as I was walking out, and I just picked it up because I basically just want to read all the queer YA that exists. That is my plan, that is my goal for life. So got that. I also picked up at Bargain Books, and this I was very surprised about, I'm not gonna lie, that they had this in hardback, and that is When You Were Everything, a novel by Ashley Woodfolk. And I read The Beauty That Remains, which was Ashley Woodfolk's other book, and I really enjoyed it. I read it, I think, before Brookstagram, and so I was interested when I heard that she had another book that's basically centered around high school female friendships. And you know how a lot of YA books center the romance and what happens when you fall in love in high school and things don't work out, or navigating your sexuality or navigating love, but this book centers what happens when your friendships start to fall apart, or your friendships don't, like your high school friendships start to crack, and you start to drift apart from your friends during those days right before graduation, and as your paths are diverging. And I thought this is such an interesting topic to discuss in a YA book, is this idea of friendship, of female friendship, because I experienced that when I left high school. A lot of my friends that I had in high school, we kind of drifted apart, and I think about them so often now, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where we don't realize the amount of energy and the amount of time it takes to sustain friendships when you don't have to see everybody every day because you guys are not in maths period 1 together. And so this is just, I just thought this book sounded super interesting, and I was just like, this is a different take on the kind of end of high school experience, away from the typical, oh, lovers or high school sweethearts are gonna break up type of thing. Okay. Then the next book I also got was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Science. This is also queer YA. I think I spoke about this in the previous video because I wanted to read it this month. I actually still do want to read it this month. I do not like this cover. I'm going to say that first. I don't hate it necessarily. I just, first of all, don't understand. All these stickers on the side of the awards of this book are driving me absolutely mad. Like, I don't understand why. I don't understand why people do this. Why they print stickers into the cover of the book. Because then you can't remove them. And it's just like, there's such an eyesore. And I also don't like this glossy finish. But anyway, like, that's actually not important, because everybody on my previous video where I mentioned this book, people were like, oh my god, that book was so good. And my best friend Doobie is like, that book is so good. He said he super enjoyed it. So I was just like, yes. Aristotle and Dante, excited to finally have this book, because it's one of those that's been like in my mind palace, Sherlock Holmes reference, for a while. Okay, then the next book that I got is also Black Sunday by Tola Rotimi Abraham. It's an African lit book that I have been wanting to read. I've heard such good things about this book. I think Sarah, whose handle is @Books and Rhymes, who's just the most important person you need to follow on Instagram, to be honest, spoke about this book when it just came out, and she said she really loved it. So I just picked it up. I'm also, when it comes to African lit, especially contemporary African lit that's coming out from writers, even if I've read them or I haven't read them, I'm getting everything. I don't necessarily read. Okay, I do kind of read the back of the book to make sure that it kind of centers a female, a Black African experience. If it does, the actual intricacies of the plot are not relevant to me. So yeah, Black Sunday, I did actually, oh yeah, I remember I did read the back of this. It's about twin sisters, Bibike and Arike, who live a comfortable life in Lagos, and then the war comes due to political strife. They are thrust into living with their traditional Yoruba mother. So it's that kind of question of like displacement and culture and identity, and kind of, you've lived in this comfortable life this whole time, like, I relate to this a lot as well. This is actually why I really wanted to read this book. And then you're thrust to living with your really traditional grandmother, and the way your parents raised you and the way your grandmother wants to raise you is a clash of, and trying to a clash of kind of identities and trying to navigate that space. So I'm really excited to read this. It's also not that long. I thought it was longer. It's less than 300 pages. So Black Sunday is also definitely on the list. The next book that I picked up, by the way, Black Sunday, some of these books, I'll actually show you which ones they are. These 4, 5, 6, and Black Sunday, my uncle actually bought them for me. I actually went to lunch with him, and there happened to be an exclusive books next to the restaurant that we're at. So I just looked at him. I was just like, I mean, dude, like, we're already here. And he just looked at me. I was just like, fine, get what you want. He's like, that's how my family does me. They're like, you have 10 minutes. They don't know. I stays ready, so I ain't gotta get ready. So if you give me 10 minutes inside exclusive books, I will come out with like 10 books because I always stay ready. I have a list of books that I want on my phone at all times. I just go to the counter and I'm just like, do you guys have any of these books? They're like, yeah. I was like, give them to me. Done. We're finished. Anyway, so the next book that I also picked up is An Act of Defiance by Irene Sabatini. It's a Zimbabwean, she's a Zimbabwe writer. I've never heard of her. I think this is a debut novel. It's set in Zimbabwe. So basically the plot is that, what's her name? I'll tell you now. Gabrielle is kind of like a young lawyer in the 2000s. And then Ben is a guy. What does Ben do? He's a young diplomat. They start a young love affair, and then they experience a really traumatic, shocking attack together, and then they have to try and navigate this space, this really weird, tense political space in Zimbabwe at the time, and navigate this in Harare specifically, and kind of navigate and then the kind of story tells how they kind of splinter across continents and how their lives are changed by the specific trauma that they experience and how they navigate that. I think, I'm not sure if it's together or apart because obviously I haven't read it, but that's the basic plot of the book. Also, debut African writer, I'm just into. I think it's a debut. I could be wrong though because I've never heard of her, but you know, I obviously haven't heard of everybody because I'm not all knowing and all seeing, even though I think I am. So, An Act of Defiance. I had to pick this up. It's been on my list since it came out because I was just like, I need to get it. I'm here for all the African lit. Then the next book that I also picked up was The Falling in Love Montage by Sierra Smith. It's a sapphic YA romance set, I think, at a fair. It's a fair. These two girls, I think, are get into one of those, it's the end of summer, I don't want anything serious before I leave, but let's start like a casual relationship thing. And I think it's centered around like some sort of county fair type situation where I think they both work. But anyway, it's a sapphic YA romance. I've heard great things on Bookstagram about this, so I just thought, let me pick it up. I saw it at exclusive books, so I just picked it up. Interested to see how this goes. I don't typically read sapphic romance. I've actually realized that because I've actually been going through my YA what you call this thing, my YA section. I was clearing it out and I realized like I have a lot of M&M, like male, biologically male romance novels, like a lot of gay romance. I think I have a bit of trans, I have a bit of like non-binary, but I have very little like sapphic, like female centered romance. And I don't know YA romance, queer romance, and I don't know why that is, but like anyway, that's just something I noticed and I thought it was a bit weird because yeah. Anyway, the other book that I got, I'm so happy about this. It's not even, I've read the book. It's a collection. I've read them, but this edition is beautiful. It's the Everyman's Library edition of 3 of Chinua Achebe's books. Look at that spine. I saw in exclusive books the other day that they had one for Bessie Head as well. So I'm assuming that this Everyman collection, oh my god, it's so beautiful, has a bunch of like the iconic African writers. So I might actually have to collect this set because these spines, honey, these spines are going to look so good on the shelf. So this one has, I think it has Things Fall Apart, No Longer at Ease, and Hour of God. I've read all 3 of these books by Chinua Achebe, loved all 3 of them. So I just picked this up because I wanted to have, I just love this edition and I just thought it would look really pretty on the shelf. Now I have no space to put the stuff because I'm scared this is going to topple over and hit me on the head because that actually has happened before and it was like really embarrassing. Okay, and then, sit properly. Then the next book that I also picked up at exclusive books was Just Like You by Nick Hornby. First of all, I picked up this book when I was walking through exclusive books because I thought the cover was really interesting. I thought it was like really pretty. That that illustration of this like couple intertwined, and then the colors and everything look really pretty. So my understanding of what this book is about, it's basically like a romance novel, and the guy I think is super young, and the girl is like, the woman is like 40 something or something, and she's a divorcee, or she's still married, and then she falls in love and gets into this torrid affair with this like young guy. And I don't mean like young like high school, I don't think it's like pedophilia, I think he's like in his 20s. And it's about like, I think it's about them trying to navigate whether or not like this is a love that can endure, because everybody around them is like, y'all don't even, what y'all doing? Like, he's like 3. Her friends are probably like, he's like 3 years old, sis. And his friends are like, girl, that woman is like so old. So that's what I think this book is about. I love how I said that's what I think this book is about. Like, I didn't read the book. This one I actually did read this book. It's described as tender and brutally funny new novel, gets to the heart of what it means to fall headlong in love with the best possible person, someone who may not be just like you at all. It just sounded amazing. So Just Like You by Nick Hornby, it just sounded amazing when I saw it, so I picked it up. Great. Okay, and then the next book that I picked up, I got actually at the exclusive book sale, was A Lucky Man by Jamal Brinkley, which is one of this, I think it's a collection of short stories, first of all. But the reason why I picked up this book, because first of all, the cover really drew me in. And I heard someone speak about it on Bookstagram. I just don't know, I can't remember who. But I'm really, really interested in reading books that kind of explore the interior lives and kind of the intricacies of the Black male experience. Because I think a lot of the time, there's a very particular image that Black men have to portray, and you see that in literature as well. And I'm really interested in looking at the vulnerabilities and the tenderness, and kind of really delving deep into like their inner workings and just a different narrative around Black men. And this book purports to do that. I think it was a finalist for the National Book Award if it didn't win. Yeah, it was a finalist for the National Book Award. So this is American National. I love how they say National Book Award as if they're the only country that exists. But the American National Book Award. So A Lucky Man by Jamal Brinkley as well. Got that. The other book that I picked up, actually this book I was gifted by Jonathan Ball, is Culture Warlords by Talia Levine, My Journey into the Dark Web of White Supremacy. I am really, really, really in this space right now where I'm reading so many more nonfiction books that deal with like race, racism, social justice issues, but come at it from a different angle. And the question of the deep web, the dark web, and especially white supremacy in the dark net and stuff like that, I am so interested, because I think when I saw this book, when I received it, I automatically thought of Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates, which I think you probably saw it when I spoke about it, which I received as well, which is basically about like incels and like hyper extreme misogyny and the kind of space on the internet where that exists. And I just find the whole thing so fascinating, terrifying, but also just so fascinating to just see the inner workings of like extreme whiteness and how like the worst iterations of whiteness, how those exist. So Culture Warlords, also very excited to read. My goodness, this is actually going to fall, and then I'm going to be really sad when I have something like hit me on the head. Then the next book that I also picked up is, this I picked up at Exclusive Books, is Love Falls on Us, a story of American ideas and African LGBT lives. Oh God, let me see. Okay, there we go. I think that angle is a bit better. The story of American ideas and African LGBT lives by Robbie Corey Boulay. After I finished The Pink Line, I think it's the similar type of book. The Pink Line by Mark Fisser, which I think is probably my favorite, if not my top 2 favorite nonfiction books of 2020. It is about kind of the global conversation around queerness. So what this book does is it's a similar book that talks about how the conversation around LGBTQI plus lives, rights and identity, and the predominantly Western conversation around the construction of that identity, how it has a tangible effect and how it affects the lives of queer people on the continent. Especially this book also speaks to the experience of 3 places that I don't have, because in the conversation in South Africa, I mean in Africa in general around queer rights, there are kinds of the focal points, countries that dominate the conversation. It's South Africa, it's Zimbabwe, it's Nigeria. and then it's Tanzania, and it's Uganda, and it's Kenya, in my opinion. Those are the ones where you typically tend to find this conversation revolves around those countries. Some of them for good reason. For example, South Africa and the constitution, even though like the reality on the ground is quite different. And then it's countries like Nigeria and Tanzania and Uganda, because of the laws that they have and the really the extreme backlash to the rise of queer rights that is experienced in those countries. So what this book talks about: Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, and Liberia. And when I saw that, I was like, I have to have it, because those are three countries whose kind of the way that those countries and the people in those countries are navigating the conversation around queer rights and queer identity is something I'm completely unfamiliar with. I hadn't even thought about it. I've never heard anything about queer rights in Cameroon or Liberia or Cote d'Ivoire. So I really feel like this is one of those books that I think it will be a great complement to The Pink Line, and it will just open up the conversation more and give me a better idea of what's happening everywhere else on the continent. I have nowhere else to put these books, so I'm just gonna put them, they'll just float in the ether around me. Okay, so the next book that I picked up, guys, the cover, the cover, Everybody Talking by Candice Elo. Guys, please, I mean, okay, my camera needs to come and do the right thing right now. Wait, I think, let me just move it slightly like that. Yes, guys, oh my god, it's so beautiful. Like, I just want to stare at it all day. It's literally the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it's gorgeous. Like, the colors, the vibrancy. I actually think I want to do a makeup look for this one. Adjust that again. I actually want to do a makeup look for this one, I think, because this is just going to be a vibe. Anyway, it's a book in verse. This was, I think it won the Lambda Literary, I don't know what genre, but I think it won the Lambda Literary Award this year. Anyway, it's a book written in verse, like The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a similar kind of book, and so I actually didn't know it was in verse. I just knew it was like a centered a black girl. It's like a black girl YA, black girl magic YA, which is like my favorite kind of YA, and I just bought it for that. I didn't even know it was in verse until it arrived. So happy, because I love books. I'm really loving books in verse right now. So Everybody Talking by Candice Elo, great, love it, in it. The next book that I got sent as well was Sensuous Knowledge by Mina Salami, a black feminist approach for everyone. I have been wanting to read this book. I was so surprised when it got sent to me because I didn't even know that Jonathan Ball had it. I have been wanting to read this book since I heard about it because I actually love Mina Salami. I think she's just so, I just find her so smart and so relatable. There's just something about her that I really enjoy every time she speaks, and I follow her on Instagram. I just love her giving interviews and her speaking on panels. So I really wanted to read this book. It's a book that centers black feminism, and I'm here for all those kinds of books. I have a bunch of books that are similar, so I'm interested to see what she adds to the body of work that I already own. So that's Sensuous Knowledge. It's non-fiction. I think that was obvious, but in case it wasn't. Then the next book that I have is A Burning by Megha Majumdar. I don't even think I have to talk about this book. Bookstagram has done enough. Guys, this book at some point, when I tell you for I think a straight week or two, it was everywhere when it came out. Like, it was everywhere and everybody gave it 5 stars. And I was just like, you know what? I have to read this book because I just need to know what all the fuss is about. I think this book is set in contemporary India. Is a story of 3 unforgettable characters. All of them dream of a better future. So it's a multi-narrative, which I like. Okay, so the opening kind of description is like a girl walks through the slums of Kolkata holding an armful of books. She returns home smelling of smoke and checks her most prized possession, a brand new smartphone purchased in installments on Facebook. There is only one conversation. There was a train attack in India. There was a train attack in Kolkata. And so it's this story that takes these 3 characters and kind of, I think it multi-perspective about the same one event, and like the stories of their lives and the things that were happening in the periphery and around, and you know, those kind of stories. You guys know what I'm talking about. So basically it centers around a train attack in India. everybody loved this book, as I said before. So I'm really that's actually why I picked it up, because I was like, as soon as I saw the exclusive books, because it was so expensive in hardback, it was like 500 rand. So I was just like, I'm not paying 500 rand for a book. Like, I'm not mad. Also, this is not nearly me saying, so I'm really not paying 500 rand for a book. So when I saw the exclusive books, I was like, yes, in it, love it, got it. So I got it, and I'm happy. So the next book I got is The Colors That Blind by Rutendo Tavangawai. She is a Zimbabwean writer. This is a YA book that centers I think a character that has albinism, which is actually why I bought it. I saw the cover, I saw the book, I was like, I need it. Also, I've read a book by Rutendo, and she's a really good writer, especially with YA. So I was just like, I have to get it, because I actually really want to read a book that centers a character with albinism as a central figure and as a YA character. So I'm really interested to see how she explores that dynamic within the YA genre and how this whole story comes together. So that's why I got that book, and I'm just, yes, thank you very much, love it, ready. The next book, I had to get it, guys. I had no choice. It was Wicked Fox by Cacho. Guys, I'm on this like huge fantasy kick for the past like 6 months. I'm obsessed. This book pops up all the time under my feed all the time. And the thing is, I love K-pop. I love all things Korean. Korea is one of the, especially South Korea, is one of those like places. It's my dream location. It's where I really want to go. After COVID, it's the first place I'm probably going to go. And this is a YA fantasy book that centers Korean mythologies and Korean culture and Korean aspects of Korean culture and mythologies, and they fuse together to create this basically fantasy world. Ready. Don't care about anything else. I am ready. So I picked up Wicked Fox. I know the second book is already out, so I'm hoping to get to this. It's called Vicious Spirits. I'm hoping to get to this probably beginning of 2021, so that I can see if I want to get Vicious Spirits. So yeah. Then the next book, okay, I said everybody looking, the cover was everything. I lied. This is everything. It is Mirage by Sonia Dawood. I don't even think the camera will adequately pick up what is happening in this cover, how absolutely gorgeous this illustration is. Let me try this side. No, it doesn't work this side. Okay, wait, let me just move this camera and see if it doesn't work. Guys, this cover is, it's everything. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, like, since I was born. The illustration is so, it reminds me of like Cinderella is Dead. It's just so beautiful. I had to have this book when I saw the cover, and so I just ordered it. So I think the basic part of this book is that this girl is kind of like, there's a peasant girl or a lower class or whatever, a working class peasant girl who is like identical to a princess. So they kind of, she ends up in the palace acting as the princess's body double. So that like someone is trying to kill the princess, I think, and she's basically like the body double of the princess, which is like super interesting. And then there's also like drama intrigue. You know how fantasy novels be. There's drama intrigue, there's like a sinister plot, those types of things. So but to be honest with you, I bought this book because the cover is beautiful. So I'm just ready for it to be, it can be whatever it wants to be because it's beautiful. So whatever. So that's this. That is Mirage by Sonia Dawood. I know book 2 is already out though. So I really want to read this quite soon so that I can get to book 2. And then the last one, where is it? Oh, yeah. Sorry guys, my room is a bit of a mess. The last book is I Finally Got Real Life by Brandon Taylor. This would have to be my top 5 most anticipated reads of the year because of Bookstagram. Everybody loved this book and I couldn't get it. I think the reason why I want to read this book so much is because I couldn't get it. I couldn't get my hands on it. I literally tried so hard. At some point they were sold out, the hardback copies, and then COVID. Because of COVID, like nothing was coming through to South Africa. So then we had to wait for the UK releases. So then the UK released, and quite frankly, I think this cover is beautiful. I think this one is better than the original. But also then we didn't get it in hardback, got it in paperback, which is also fine, whatever. But long story short, it finally arrived at my house, so I'm ready to read it. Come hella high water, I'm gonna read it. So that is Real Life by Brandon Taylor. yeah, so that is basically the stack of this massive book haul that I've just gotten, and I'm really excited to read all of these books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel below somewhere here. Like this video, comment on this video. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at @prettybookish, and let me know what other books you want me to talk about and what other genres, what other videos you want to see. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye.